that all children should receive free equal education.
We know that education is one of the surest ways to end poverty. In fact, for every year people are educated, their earnings increase by 10%. Educated women are more likely to have educated and healthy children. And educated families weather economic crisis and natural disasters better.
This is an example where the rich get richer and the poor get poorer. So if you have a wealthy suburban community, they have the tax base to adequately fund their schools.
There are two international assessments: PISA, Program for International Student Assessment, and TIMSS, Trends in International Mathematics and Science Studies. Now look at this. This first question is a PISA question. It asks students how would they measure the perimeter of these three different shapes. Note, there's no multiple choice questions here. The students have to write their response. We call that a constructed response, or an open-ended kind of question. Now, the question here on TIMSS is ABCD, your average multiple choice. But let's go a little more deeply. To measure these perimeters, the answer they're looking for is that you would use a string or something similar and trace out the shapes and then put the string flat and measure it with a yardstick or ruler or something like that. Challenging question. Look at this question though. What's the ratio of a side of a square to its perimeter? A, B, C, or D? Pretty obviously D. Now, what's important to understand is that these tests are really measuring different things, seemingly both about math, but in fact, this is a test much more about factual recall of memorized content knowledge. You have to know what a square is. This is a test that asks you to apply knowledge of math to a new question or new problem you've never seen before. I wanted to...
Analysts then look at the PISA test results, along with the responses to questionnaires that are given to students and school principals, and try to determine the main characteristics of these successful education systems. Are teachers in these systems paid more? Are classes generally larger or smaller? Do individual schools get to decide what their teachers teach? Or is the curriculum determined by a central government authority? Once a profile of a successful system emerges, it can be used as a model for others. So, what's the test? Schools, according to PISA, are the ones whose students do well regardless of where they come from. Still, results from PISA show that home background has a major influence on student success in school.
Good morning, kids. Good morning. A typical day in the schools of Philadelphia. And Saray White is an all-too-typical student.
So what do you think it's about?
She stopped going to school last year.
The teachers didn't care, the students didn't care.
And was on her way to becoming one more dropout.
It seemed like nobody cared, so why should I?
In Philadelphia, the country's sixth largest city, about 1 of every 3 students fails to graduate, about the national average. The country's report card on dropouts, a dismal D. Of the 4 million students who enter high school every year, almost 1.3 million will drop out before graduation. That's 7,000 every school day, 1 dropout every 26 seconds.
So the system is broken.
Michael Piskel founded View Park Prep Charter School in Los Angeles.
It's not working for teachers, it's not working for the students, it's not working for society.
The dropout problem is even worse in big cities. Almost half of all students in the country's 50 largest school districts fail to get high school diplomas. 30 years ago, the U.S. led the world in high school graduation. Today, we rank 18th among industrial nations. The reasons why, as varied as the dropouts themselves.
I have 2 kids.
I wasn't learning anything. The stairwell smelled like marijuana.
I felt really unsafe.
I had F's in all my classes.
High school dropouts earn about $10,000 less a year than workers with diplomas. That's $300 billion in lost lifetime earnings for each class of dropouts. They're more likely to be unemployed. 15% are out of work versus a national average of 10%. They also are more likely to be incarcerated. Almost 60% of federal inmates are high school dropouts.
When you have
LA's toughest neighborhoods.
what's best for the rich kids is best for all kids.
Yeah, it certainly is. You know, Steubenville, Ohio is a struggling mill town best known for a rape scandal that led to the indictment of the school superintendent on charges of obstructing justice. But one school in Steubenville has a remarkable track record. Despite a high poverty rate, this school ranks among the top achievers in the entire state of Ohio. Drive through Steubenville and this is what you see. Abandoned houses, vacant lots, telltale signs of an old factory town that's barely hanging on. But amid the devastation, a ray of hope. Kids all smiles as they get off the bus and head into Wells Academy. Wearing uniforms, they walk quietly, single file, to their classrooms.
Whenever we see OA, what sound do we say?
The principal is Sean Crozier.
You walk into any classroom and the kids are engaged.
We have a school district that was poor, that not supposed to do well, and we do well.